Sex toys aren't just about vibrators anymore. We're talking today about the popularity of sex toys in the world.
I can't wait to hear about sex toys and their popularity around the world.
Well, when I saw this article, I thought this is perfect for us, for the Sex Doctors podcast.
I can't think of anything more perfect.
I know, because they're looking at, these are two researchers from Turkey. The last name of the first author is Dagger, and the article's called Global Web Trends Analysis of Sex Toys. These same authors looked at some other very interesting associations between like sex toys and I believe ER visits and sex toys and like medical problems. I don't know. It was very, very fascinating. But anyway, let's stick to the sex toys and the popularity of them.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So they're super popular. Let me just say that they looked at 5 different sex toys: dildos, vibrators, strap-ons, anal plugs, and masturbators. And what they did was they looked at Google searches throughout the world for these 5 toys between 2009 and 2023, assuming that people were looking to learn about these toys, they were going to be purchasing them, and that's how they determine the popularity within each country of these particular sex toys.
Before we start, a small disclaimer. The Sex Doctors podcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice.
Welcome to the Sex Doctors, featuring Dr. Marianne Brandon, clinical psychologist and diplomate in sex therapy, and Dr. Abraham Morgentaler, renowned urologist and expert in sexual medicine and testosterone therapy. Together, they bring you expert insights into sex, intimacy, and relationships. Let's dive in.
I'm going to guess that masturbators as a sex toy, as a term, is for guys. Yeah, it's like these things that are constructed to be like the fleshlights for a guy to help them with stimulation, like they vibrate and they have some ability to simulate oral sex, right?
Right. Or anal sex or vaginal sex. I think that that's right. Because really, even today, men purchase as many sex toys as women.
What?
Well, at least from a financial perspective.
Yeah. Listen, the technology for guys is more and more.
Right.
We used to think of sex toys as basically just being a dildo. Mm-hmm. And then vibrators and
right.
Yeah. But so much more now.
The guys are really supporting this whole this industry.
Like, they're raising it up. Lifting it up.
Do you know that? So as of this year, this is a $38 billion industry, sex toys. That's a lot.
Yeah. Can you compare that to anything else?
Well, you know what I did look. So next year, as of 2026, and since it's almost 2025, I'm calling it next year, it's expected to be a $52 billion industry. That's how quickly. So, there's a certain sadness in this.
That's a big rise.
It's a big rise, but people are having less sex, right? So I can only assume that they're having less sex with each other and more with their sex toys.
Oh, how interesting, right?
That's my guess. So one of the things is, perhaps we can encourage people to combine it all, because sex with your partner and a sex toy all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we know that sex is good for you.
But is that a threesome?
I think so. I think it's a modern threesome. I think that's perfect, babe. Really nice. But so in 2026, it's expected to be a $52 billion industry. So I was trying to put that in context for myself. Like, how much is a $52 billion industry?
Right.
So I Googled, like, what is the hair product industry? Since that's an industry that I feel that I know well.
Yeah.
And so the sex toys as of 2026 are half of the hair product industry. But still, like...
Oh, hair products are huge.
That's a big industry, right?
Yeah, a lot of money gets spent on that.
Right. So as of next year...
it's in the same, less, but in the same general vicinity.
Right. And then in 2030, so we're talking 6 years from now, this is expected to be a $63 billion industry. That's how popular sex toys are becoming.
Wow.
So it will be interesting to see if, and I expect it will, people's sex with partners continues to decline. But nonetheless.
So sex toys are on the rise.
They're on the rise. So
pun intended.
I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Leave it to the guy.
You know?
Make the dumb jokes.
Well, so what is a $63 billion industry? Do you know that is, so this is in 2030, that's like the organic food industry in the U.S.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow.
So sex toys are going to be on par with the organic food industry in 2030 and on par with anti-aging products. So like wrinkle creams and all this?
Yeah. So this is big business.
It's very big business. It's very big business. So these researchers were looking to see which countries, like what were they particularly, inclined to play with. So, and they also looked at it from like year to year. So as it went on, as you read this article, they talk about, what was popular in 2009 and then what happened.
Trends over time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was actually like reading about, in my mind, I was hearing it like a horse race. Because you know how, at a horse race, they say
those in the lead.
Yeah, exactly. And they go around the turn and then the vibrators came. That's how it read. So dildos had it until 2016 and then vibrators shot ahead. And
shot ahead. There's like puns here everywhere.
Yeah. So they all over the world, really, and they beat out anal plugs and they beat out strap-ons. Strap-ons, man, they just like, for reasons which I really don't understand, they were a really big loser here. Strap-ons they kind of like went down.
They fell to the back of the pack.
They totally fell to the back of the pack. God. So as of right now,
I feel bad for them.
I'm wondering, like, why do you suppose?
They just didn't have like the stamina. They just couldn't keep up.
But do you have any hypotheses about why they lost so big in this race, the strap-ons?
I think it's just trends. Like some things become more popular, some things become less. Maybe it's the new technology, right? Like a strap-on doesn't do much, but there was a time not that long ago when it felt very risque.
Right. So now people are just bored by the idea. I don't know. I would have thought that as women become more empowered, the strap-on would be more popular. So that actually surprised me.
Right.
So I really don't have a way to understand it. But so they broke this down by country. What was popular? Which of these toys was most popular in which country? It's a little bit of a complicated kind of assessment here, but I thought that I would put you on the spot and see if you could guess.
Okay.
Which countries found these different sex toys most popular? So, for example, the dildo.
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Which country or countries really were most interested in the dildo?
So I can pick any country in the world?
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know.
So the country the most interested, I'm going to guess United States.
Do you know the United States doesn't show up here as even on the list of the interest in dildos?
Really?
Yeah. So Denmark and Norway, they really.
Oh, like Scandinavians.
Yeah. How about that?
Scandinavians are into dildos.
Because it's cold there, right?
It doesn't work.
I'm thinking not because it offers heat, but because, it gives you something to do.
Okay.
It's cool.
All right.
You're not going.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Okay. So what about the vibrator?
Well, I would have said the United States, but there's something in my head that says France.
So no, it's Romania.
Romania.
Yeah, the Romanians, they love their vibrators.
I don't mean to say anything negative about Romania, but one doesn't really associate Romania with being in the lead for very much, but apparently they're in the lead for vibrators.
Isn't that interesting?
There's a little association I never would have come to on my own.
So I find that fascinating. What about the strap-on?
The strap-on has to be New Zealand.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not New Zealand. It's Greece.
Greece. Wait, the strap-on?
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's some old jokes which we can't repeat here because they're so non-PC.
You'll offend my cat,
Yeah.
Right. You don't want that. Okay, what about anal plugs?
Anal plugs.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to guess anal plugs are probably really big in South Africa.
Babe, you're really having a hard time with this quiz.
I've always done well with quizzes.
I know, but you're really failing miserably.
Yeah.
But Brazil is the country that loves their anal plugs.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Now that's interesting. You do a lot of lecturing in Brazil.
I've been to Brazil quite a few times.
Do they talk about their anal plugs when you're down there
I
lecturing?
have to say, nobody's ever mentioned their anal plugs to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have the masturbator.
Masturbate. That's the thing for the guys.
Well, that's what I'm guessing. They didn't really define it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to guess Ireland.
So it's the Czech Republic.
The Czech Republic.
My ancestors came from the Czech Republic, so they like the masturbators over there.
Yeah, but your ancestors didn't have access
They
to
didn't.
those
No,
back when.
way back when, not at all.
No.
Not at all. But the U.S. doesn't score here at all.
Isn't that interesting?
I mean,
Maybe they're just average.
what do you make of
I-
that? You know what I was thinking? Maybe in the U.S. they don't bother doing Google searches; they just buy the stuff.
No, but they have to search for it first.
They just go to Amazon.com.
But my guess is that this is a population. It's based on population size, like how much per population. That's be my guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So the U.S. may be the number one
I see.
country for
Yeah.
total purchases.
Yeah.
maybe
but not per population.
per search.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. They all. That's a good speculation. I like that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. 'Cause I struck out on everything else.
Oh, but it's why I like talking to you. You always have something interesting.
I would have guessed if you hadn't said that U.S. didn't make it on the list of any of these.
Mhm.
I would have guessed U.S. for all of them.
That's what I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I kept rereading it. Like, am I missing something here? Did they say something about that and took the U.S. out of
Yeah.
it? But no.
No.
But they did also speak about injuries, which caught my attention.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, injuries?
Oh, now we're getting in my field, which is medical.
Do you know what? So that's what I thought, because I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about injuries. Nobody talks to me about injuries from their sex toys. So I thought, well, maybe they talked to Abe about this because, I don't hear about it. And this is your area of the body. So maybe they're talking to you about it. But
Well, you don't mean my area personally. You mean professional.
Well, I'm like, hey, injuries from sex toys, but apparently it's a thing, and it's a thing with like the anal plugs. I guess bacterial infections. People are not washing their sex toys.
Yeah. So you don't want to put an anal plug into like the
Any other
vagina,
place.
any other orifice.
Yeah,
You don't want it.
so apparently people are doing that.
Yeah. But a classic emergency room visit related to this is things getting placed up the rectum and then you can't retrieve them.
I've heard about. I've never.
As
Yeah,
a matter of fact,
nobody's ever talked to me about this problem, but I have
yeah.
heard it exists. Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, years ago,
Yeah.
when
So you're making my cat uncomfortable. Look at him. It's like, this conversation is decompensating.
years ago, I went to see there was a movie called Jackass. Jackass.
Yeah.
Guys did
Yeah.
the most outrageous, awful things.
Right.
And I don't know if it was real or whether it was staged, but one of them had, I think it was like a little car, like a little toy car.
Oh, yeah. Like a Matchbox car?
Yeah, that they placed up their
Oh, my God.
rectum, and then there was an X-ray that showed the car in there.
Oh,
That was supposed to be funny.
wow.
Anyway, so but there really are emergency room visits where those items have to get retrieved.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there's that.
And I think up the ureter, too, is part of the
Urethra. People
I
put
Yeah.
yeah.
But none of this fits up there. That I don't understand.
Yeah, people put sounds, like they put these smooth but long and hard metal objects, narrow metal objects
Yeah.
up
That's
there.
a BDSM thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that goes in the category of fetish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But other injuries can be anal injuries from anything that gets inserted in there. Like if there's a strap-on that's being used for anal sex,
Mhm.
like you can have your rectum injured.
Well,
that's not good. That's not good when that happens.
this whole thing is making me a little queasy.
Yeah, let's go back to the fun times. We don't have to we don't need to deal with medical injuries. Yeah. Okay, there you go. I liked it better when the answer was Norway and Denmark. Let's go back to that.
I got nothing else. I mean, I think it was a cute little article, but really that's all the interesting things there are to say, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so listen, my takeaway is that what I heard you say is that the sex toy industry is growing.
Growing.
People are using more and more of it.
Yeah.
maybe it's related. I like your speculation about, trends in sexuality. People are having less sex with other people.
Right.
They're really into their devices.
Yeah, they're into
Their sex, and I don't know if they talked about it in this thing, but we've talked about teledildonics, which has to be my favorite word of 2024, where one person has a control mechanism and another person has some kind of sex toy that is controlled by that controller, and they can be on the other side of the world.
Isn't that fascinating?
And they can look at each other like with FaceTime or something else.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
And control that. Really, yeah. So there's stuff that's coming, and
I got it.
and oh my God, listen, with technology and AI.
Yeah.
Geez, who even knows what these trends like the horse race?
Yeah.
I think if we're still doing this podcast in 5 years,
yeah,
hopefully there'll be an update.
That's right.
And we'll see who's winning the horse race.
I think that's great. I can't wait.
So, well, Dr. Brand, it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And for those of you who are watching and guessed correctly or incorrectly on those different countries and did better than me, this is the end of this particular podcast. And we hope to see you again for another episode of
The Sex Doctors.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Sex Doctors with Dr. Marianne Brandon and Dr. Abraham Morgentaler. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tune in next time for more expert advice on sexual health and relationships.